The jungle moon of Krell-9 was silent under a glowing red sky. Leaves shimmered with bioluminescent light, and strange alien bugs crawled through the thick undergrowth. A small human ship had landed only hours ago, its hull steaming from entry. Through the planet's thick atmosphere, inside. One man checked his gear and stepped out cautiously. His name was Jack, a human scout from Earth. He had come to answer a distress signal, but so far, he hadn't seen a single soul. Jack's boots crunched on damp moss as he moved deeper into the jungle. His hand rested on his sidearm, ready for anything. The air was thick, humid, and smelled like metal and sweet rot. Then he heard it crying, soft and shaky. Echoing between the massive trees, he followed the sound. Pushing past giant vines and ducking under roots that hung like ropes. In a small clearing, Jack froze. A young alien girl was curled up on the ground. Her skin glowing faintly blue in the shadows. She was barefoot, dressed in rags, her arms covered in tiny scars. Her eyes snapped open the moment she sensed him bright. Violet and filled with terror. "Hey," Jack said softly, lowering his weapon. "I'm not here to hurt you." But she didn't wait. In a blur, she leaped forward and bit into his forearm with razor-sharp teeth. Jack grunted in pain and fell to one knee. The girl pulled back, staring at him with wide, panicked eyes. She waited, breathing fast, as if expecting him to collapse. But he didn't. Instead, he stood up slowly, clutching his arm, blood dripping. From the bite. "What the hell was that for?" he asked, confused. The girl stepped back, her face pale with disbelief. "You're not dead," she whispered. "You're still alive?" Jack blinked. "Should I not be?" She dropped to her knees, shaking. "No one survives my bite," she whispered. "No alien. No one, ever." Her voice was soft, broken, almost as if she was more afraid than he was. Jack stared at her, trying to understand. Then he remembered something, a rumor, a story whispered in outer colonies about a rare alien girl whose venom was fatal to every known species. Every species except maybe humans. Jack looked at his bleeding arm, still stinging but not paralyzed. He sat down beside her slowly, watching her carefully. "You sent the distress signal?" he asked. She didn't answer right away, just nodded slightly. "Why?" Jack asked again. "To get rescued, or to kill whoever came." The girl shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. "I didn't want anyone to come," she said. "But I was so tired, I thought. Maybe someone could end it." Jack's expression softened. "You wanted someone to kill you," he said quietly. She nodded again, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't think anyone would survive my bite." There was silence between them, broken only by the sound of alien birds screeching in the trees above. Then Jack spoke. "Well, bad luck for you, I guess." She looked up at him, startled. "I'm Jack," he said, offering a hand, "and I'm not dead. So now we've got a problem." The girl hesitated, then slowly took his hand. "Ziri," she said. "My name is Ziri." The moment their hands touched, something clicked in her eyes. Fear turned into confusion, and confusion into something like hope. Jack didn't know what just happened. But Ziri looked at him like he was something impossible. "You touched me," she whispered. "You didn't die from my bite, and you touched me." "Yeah," Jack said, standing up. "And now we're going to get off this moon before someone else finds you." Ziri's eyes widened. You want to help me?" Jack nodded, wiping the blood from his arm. "I came here because someone called for help," he said. "Didn't expect to get bitten. But I'm here now." Ziri looked like she was trying to believe him. "No one ever helped me," she said. "They locked me up, called me a monster." Jack looked around the forest, then back at her. "Well, Ziri," he said, "you don't look like a monster to me." She stood slowly, still unsure if this was real. but Jack was already checking his scanner. "Come on," he said. "If your bite couldn't kill me, I guess we're stuck with each other." Ziri followed him, one step behind. In her heart, a strange warmth began to grow. For the first time in her life, someone didn't run away. He stayed, and deep in the jungle, something ancient stirred. Others had sensed what just happened, and now they were coming. Ziri walked ahead of Jack, silent and tense. She moved like a shadow between the glowing trees, her feet barely making a sound on the mossy ground. Jack followed her carefully, watching her every movement. She wasn't like any alien he had seen before, not just in her looks, but in the way the entire forest seemed to stay away from her. Strange animals kept their distance. Even the wind felt like it avoided her skin. And yet, she looked so small, so lost. Jack touched the bite on his arm again. Still sore, still healing, but not deadly. "That should have been impossible, Ziri," he said softly. "Where are we going?" She didn't turn back, but her voice came quiet through the fog. Somewhere safe. They crossed a broken bridge made of ancient roots, past a stream glowing with strange blue fish. Then finally, they reached a hollow tree as wide as a building. Ziri crawled inside and sat down with her knees to her chest. Jack stepped in and looked around. It was dry, warm, and hidden from the sky. "A perfect shelter. You live here?" Jack asked, sitting down nearby. She nodded. "For weeks," she whispered. "Ever since I ran away." Jack rested his back against the bark. "Ran from what?" Ziri looked away, then finally said, "From my own people," they called me a curse, a weapon that escaped. They tried to lock me away again, but I bit one of them. And he died screaming. She hugged her knees tighter. "I didn't mean to," she said, her voice cracking. "I just didn't want to go back." Jack stayed quiet for a moment, then said, "But I didn't die." Ziri looked at him for the first time since they entered the tree. "No," she said slowly, "you didn't. That's why everything is about to change." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Because I'm immune." Ziri nodded. "There were stories in my tribe, long ago," she said, "that one day, someone would survive the venom. That person would be the one I belong to." Jack blinked. "Wait, what?" "In my people's law," she explained, "if someone survives the death bite, the bond is sealed. I'm yours now, whether I want it or not." Jack leaned forward, shocked. "That's insane," he said. "I didn't agree to any of that." Ziri nodded again. "I know," she said, "but others will come. If they hear you survived me, they'll come to claim you, to kill you, or to use you." Jack frowned. "Why use me?" "Because," Ziri whispered, "you're the key to making more like me or destroying all like me. They'll want your blood, your body, everything." Jack stared into the distance, thinking hard. "What about you?" I asked. "What do you want?" Ziri didn't answer right away. She looked tired, older than her years. "I want to stop running," she said. "I want someone to see me as more than a danger." Jack's voice was calm but firm. "Then, let's stop running." He said, "Let's fight." She looked at him, confused. "You'd fight for me?" "I don't even know you," he admitted. "But I know fear when I see a tanned. I hate bullies. If they're hunting you, then they're hunting me now too." Ziri didn't smile, but her shoulders relaxed just a little. "You're strange," she whispered. "Human." And strange. Suddenly, there was a sharp sound outside, like branches cracking under heavy feet. Jack stood up quickly, drawing his sidearm. Ziri froze, her eyes wide. "They're here," she said. "They found me again." Jack moved to the edge of the tree hollow and peeked through the bark. Shapes moved in the distance, tall, armored, and silent. Alien hunters, their faces covered, their eyes glowing red. They carried weapons that pulsed with blue light. They weren't here to talk. Ziri trembled beside him. "They're immune to my venom," she said. "They were made just to catch me." Jack's grip tightened on his weapon. "Then it's a good thing they're not immune to bullets," he muttered. Ziri looked at him again, something different in her gaze now. Not fear, not confusion. "Trust. Follow me," she said quickly. "I know a way out." Together, they slipped through a crack in the back of the tree and moved silently through the forest. As the hunters closed in on the hollow, Jack and Ziri vanished into the dark. The trees swallowed them again, hiding them from death. But Jack knew something was coming. This wasn't just about a girl with venom now. This was about survival, about what it meant to protect someone no one else would, and he was ready. Even if it meant facing an entire world that wanted her dead. Jack's face was still wet from the jungle fog as he crouched behind a thick tree trunk. Ziri stood beside him, watching the path behind them with sharp, glowing eyes. The hunters had searched their shelter, found it empty, and now were tracking them deeper into the wild. Their movements were fast, organized, and deadly. They weren't just looking for Ziri anymore. They were after him too. He touched the bite on his arm again. It was healing strangely fast, the skin already closing. Ziri had explained that her venom wasn't just poison, it was a kind of living chemical. It either killed or changed. Jack wasn't sure which one had happened to him yet. But he knew one thing. He was different now. "They won't stop," Ziri whispered. "Crouching low, they saw you. They know what you are now. And what exactly am I?" Jack asked, trying to keep his voice low. "You're living proof," she said. "Proof that a human can survive the death bite. Proof that I'm not just a monster, but to them, that makes you dangerous." Jack gave her a small smirk. "They should be more worried about how dangerous I can be." They kept moving. Sliding between roots and fallen trees, the jungle buzzed with strange sounds, some of them natural, some of them not. Jack's scanner blinked red, picking up energy signals closing in on them from the west. "We need high ground," he said. "Somewhere we can see them before they see us." Ziri nodded and led him up a ridge made of black stone. The climb was rough, but once they reached the top, they saw it, a wide valley below, crawling with movement. Dozens of hunters, maybe more, and in the center, a floating screen showing his face, Jack's face. A mechanical voice echoed from hidden speakers. "Human subject confirmed immune. Capture alive, kill the girl if necessary." Ziri's breath caught, her body stiffened. "They've marked you," she whispered. "You're not just being chased to or a bounty now." Jack looked at his own face glowing across the valley. It felt unreal. He had landed on this planet to answer a distress signal. Now he was the most wanted creature on it. "We need to disappear," he said. "Fast." "There's only one place they won't go," Ziri said, looking north. "The ghost swamp." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Sounds lovely." She didn't laugh. "No light reaches the ground there," she explained. "Even the hunters are afraid of what lives inside, but I know the paths." Jack nodded. "Then we go there." As they climbed down the ridge, Ziri moved closer to him. "Why are you still here?" she asked suddenly. "You could have run when I bit you, when you found out what I am." Jack didn't look at her, just kept walking. "I've seen monsters," he said. "You're not one of them." Ziri didn't say anything, but her fingers brushed against his hand for a second before pulling away. A small gesture, but for her, it meant everything. They walked for hours, through thick, twisting vines and shallow, glowing streams. At one point, a wild beast charged them, a giant thing with tusks and armor-like skin. Ziri's eyes turned sharp, and she hissed loudly. The beast stopped instantly, ears flattening before it turned and ran. Jack stared in shock. "You just scared off a tank with teeth." Ziri gave a small smile. "They fear the venom." Night came fast, and with it, cold winds. They built a fire near the edge of the ghost swamp, surrounded by mist and silence. Ziri sat close to the flames, staring at them like she didn't understand how something so hot could feel comforting. Jack handed her a heat pack from his bag. "Keep your hands warm," he said. "We'll need to move at dawn." She took it and held it close. "You're the first person who's ever given me something," she said, softly, not out of fear, not because they had to, just because. Jack looked at her. "Then get used to it," he replied, suddenly. His scanner beeped, movement fast, before he could react. A hunter dropped from the trees behind them. Ziri screamed, her body lunging forward. Fangs exposed, but Jack was faster. He rolled sideways, drew his blaster, and fired. The shot hit the hunter's chest plate, cracking it. Ziri leaped on him. Biting down on the exposed skin at the neck, the hunter convulsed, then collapsed. Dead Jack looked at her, breathing hard. "You okay?" She nodded, wiping her mouth. "They're getting closer," she said. "They won't stop." Jack stood over the hunter's body, eyes narrowing. "Then, neither will we." He picked up the hunter's comm device. It was still working, Jack. Switched it to transmit. He spoke calmly into it. "You want me?" He said, "Come find me, but I won't run, and I won't let you take her." He tossed the device back onto the body and looked at Ziri. Her eyes burned with something. New pride. The chase was no longer just survival. It was war. Asterisk. The sky cracked open with thunder as cold rain began to fall across the thick, alien jungle. Jack's boots splashed through muddy ground as he and Ziri rushed through tall vines and twisting roots. Their breath came fast, hearts pounding. Their bodies soaked within seconds. The storm came fast, too fast to be natural. Ziri looked up at the clouds and whispered, "They called the storm." Jack frowned. "You mean they can control the weather?" She nodded, her eyes scanning the treetops. "Hunters use weather storms to blind prey," she said, "to trap them." Jack checked his scanner, but the screen blinked with static. The rain was jamming the signal. He cursed under his breath and kept moving. They needed shelter and fast, up ahead. Something caught Ziri's eye. She grabbed Jack's hand and pulled him toward a structure hidden by thick moss and vines. An old alien building, broken, covered in growth, but still standing. It looked like it had once been a lab, long forgotten and swallowed by the jungle. Ziri pushed open the heavy door with both hands, and they slipped inside. The air was dry inside. Metal walls still humming faintly with power. Jack slammed the door shut and locked it. He turned to Ziri, breathing hard. "This place looks abandoned," he said, "but still alive." Ziri looked around nervously. "I've heard stories," she said. "This is where they used to test venom. And children." Jack froze. "You mean this is where they made you like this?" She didn't answer, but the way her eyes dropped said enough. The lights inside flickered on, weak but enough to see. Rusty cages, broken machines, and a shattered control panel filled the space. In the center of the room was a strange medical chair with leather straps and cracked glass above it. Jack stepped closer, examining the old tech. "They experimented here," he said softly. "Torture disguised." As Sci and Ziri touched the chair and pulled her hand back quickly. "I was here once," she said, "a long time ago." The moment hung heavy in the air. Then a sharp beep echoed from Jack's scanner. He checked it fast. 3 life forms, approaching from the west side. "They found us," he said. 3 of them, maybe more behind. Ziri moved to the corner and opened a metal cabinet. Inside were pieces of old alien tech, weapons half charged, shields half broken. Jack grinned. "Well, let's give them a surprise." He got to work fast, using the scrap and wires to set up traps. He placed energy coils near the door, tied tripwires across the entrance. He even wired an old plasma turret to the ceiling and angled it at the hallway. Ziri helped him. her hands steady even as the lights flickered from the storm. I didn't think humans knew how to fight like this, she said. Watching him, Jack smiled. Where I come from, survival means being smarter than your enemy. Minutes later, the door clicked. The red light blinked. Someone was on the other side. Ziri tensed, and Jack gave her a nod the moment the door opened. The tripwire snapped. A blast of light shot out, throwing one hunter across the hall. The second one ducked and fired, but the plasma turret rained fire from above. The room lit up in orange flashes as metal cracked and sparks flew. Ziri grabbed a shock dart from the shelf and threw it straight into the third hunter's helmet. He twitched, screamed, and collapsed in the corner. Jack reloaded and aimed again, breathing hard. Anyone else? Ziri checked the scanner clear for now, but outside, more footsteps could be heard. We have to leave, she said. They'll send more. Jack turned toward the back of the lab and spotted a broken door marked Exit B. He kicked. It opened and motioned for Ziri to follow. Beyond the door was a long tunnel, dark, dripping, but leading away from the chaos. As they ran through it, the storm rumbled above. Shaking the ceiling, Ziri clutched Jack's arm tightly. I was so scared of this place, she said. Oh, now I feel powerful walking through it with you. Jack looked at her with a gentle smile. You're not a victim anymore, he said. You're a fighter. At the end of the tunnel, they emerged into the jungle again. The storm had started to fade. But now Jack had a new problem. He was bleeding again. This time from a wound on his leg. He collapsed to one knee, groaning in pain. Ziri panicked. You're hurt. He waved her off. I'm fine, just a scratch. But she saw the blood. It was deep, pulsing fast. She knelt beside him, tears forming. I can save you, she whispered. But I have to use the venom again. Jack's eyes widened. Are you sure it won't kill me this time? I don't know, she said, but I can't lose you. He looked into her eyes and nodded. Do it. Ziri leaned down, her fangs trembling. She bit gently into his arm, not deep, just enough. Jack gasped, body stiffening, then relaxing. The venom flowed through his blood, and suddenly the bleeding slowed. He looked at her, dazed. You saved me. Ziri wiped her eyes and whispered, No, you saved me first. Asterisk. Jack's breath came in short bursts as the venom spread through his blood. His body trembled, his muscles stiffening, his vision blurring. Ziri held on to him tightly, whispering his name over and over. Jack, please, she begged, stay. With me, she had only bitten him slightly, not like the first time. Just a shallow mark. Just enough venom to trigger his body's natural defenses. But this time, it felt different. Jack's eyes rolled back for a moment, and Ziri panicked. She pressed her hand to his chest, feeling for a heartbeat. It was slow. Too slow. No, 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 she cried. Don't die. Not now. But just as she was about to scream, his eyes opened. He gasped, coughing hard, and then he groaned in pain. Ziri's face lit up with relief. You're alive, she whispered. Tears in her glowing eyes. Jack blinked, sweat dripping from his forehead. Barely, he muttered. But I'll take it. She helped him sit against a tree, and they waited in silence. The venom had stabilized him, healed the wound, slowed the bleeding. But Jack could feel that something inside him had changed again. His heartbeat sounded louder. His skin felt warmer. It was like the venom wasn't just healing, it was fusing with him. Ziri watched him with a mixture of awe and fear. No one has ever survived 2 bites, she said softly. Now you have. You're not just immune, Jack, you're becoming something else. Jack raised an eyebrow. That doesn't sound comforting. Ziri gave a small smile. It means you're strong, stronger than even I imagined. But it also means they'll want you more than ever. Jack looked down at his arm at the marks her bite had left. He traced them slowly, then looked up at her. I don't regret it, he said. If this is the price to stay alive and stay with you, It's worth it. Ziri blushed, her violet cheeks darkening. No one's ever said that to me before. She admitted. Jack chuckled. Then they were fools. Suddenly, a soft mechanical beep came from his satchel. The communication chip was picking up a signal. Jack opened it and stared. It was a broadcast. Across all nearby systems, on the screen appeared a face cold, stern, and familiar to Ziri. It was the Empress. Ziri froze. "My mother?" she whispered. The Empress's voice filled the air, to all bounty hunters and loyal citizens. She declared, "A human has survived the death bite. He is now considered a Class Red threat. Capture him alive. As for the girl, Ziri." The Empress's eyes narrowed coldly. She is now stripped of her title, rights, and name. She is to be executed on sight. The message ended, the screen went dark. Ziri's hands trembled. Her face pale. "She disowned me," she said quietly. Jack placed a hand on hers, firm and steady. "She was never your real family." He said, "Not the kind that matters." Ziri nodded slowly, wiping her tears. "You're right," she whispered. "Family doesn't lock you away or try to kill you." They sat together under the trees, thunder still rumbling in the distance. Ziri looked at Jack with new eyes, not just as the human who survived her bite, but as the only one who ever stood beside her. She leaned in, gently resting her head on his shoulder. "Jack," she said, "there's something I need to tell you." He looked down at her. "What is it?" "My venom is changing," she whispered, "ever since you survived. It's like it reacts to your presence. It's getting stronger, but also calmer." Jack thought for a moment. "Maybe it knows I'm not your enemy." Ziri nodded. "Maybe." As the night deepened, they took turns keeping watch. Ziri stared into the fire, while Jack slept. She had always been afraid of what lived inside her. The poison, the power, the danger. But now, she saw it differently. Her venom didn't kill him. It healed him. That meant something. It meant hope. In the early morning light, Jack woke up and stretched. His muscles ached, but the wound on his leg was gone. Ziri handed him some ration bars. "And a bottle of filtered water. You'll need strength," she said. "We're going to move again." "Where to?" he asked, chewing slowly. "To the capital," she said with determination in her voice. "If they want us so badly. Let's go to the heart of it." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Walk into the Queen's den." Ziri nodded. "There's something I need to show you," she said, "and someone I need to face." Jack stood up and looked at her. "You're serious?" Ziri's eyes glowed faintly in the sunrise. "I'm done running," she said. "You gave me the courage to bite again, not out of fear, but to save someone." Jack smiled. "Then let's give your mother a reason to be afraid." The gates of the alien capital rose like mountains of black glass. Tall, cold, and unwelcoming, they stood as a warning to all outsiders. Guards in silver armor lined the walls. Carrying long rifles and scanning the skies, Jack and Ziri stood, hidden in the forest nearby, watching silently. Ziri's jaw was tight, her eyes narrowed. "This is where I was born," she said, "but I was never welcome." Jack looked at the walls, then at her. "And you want to walk right in?" Ziri nodded slowly. "There's a way," she said, "an old servant's tunnel under the garden wall. No one uses it anymore. But I remember it." Without another word, they moved, through shadows and wet grass. Under the cover of a fading morning mist, they reached the old stone entrance. Half buried in vines and forgotten roots, Ziri touched a small plate on the wall, and a door hissed open. Jack followed her through the narrow tunnel, weapons ready. It was cold inside, and the wall smelled of old chemicals and stone. Water dripped from cracks above, echoing softly. Every step echoed like a drumbeat of fate. After what felt like hours, they emerged into a long corridor, decorated with ancient tapestries and glowing crystal lights. Ziri pulled up her hood, her hands shaking slightly. They'll know me if they see my face, she whispered. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. Then let them, he said. You're not the same girl who left this place. Together, they walked through the palace. Avoiding guards and slipping between shadows, Ziri knew the halls like memories in a nightmare. Every corner reminded her of pain, of cold looks, of silent suffering. Finally, they reached the throne chamber. A massive room filled with towering pillars and gold-lined tiles. At the center sat the Queen's Aries mother. Her long black gown shimmered like liquid armor, her crown sharp and metallic. Her expression was unreadable. Her eyes like frozen glass. Guards surrounded her, but they didn't move when Jack and Ziri stepped forward. A hush fell across the room. The Queen raised her hand, and the guards lowered their weapons. So, she said, her voice calm and sharp. The venomous daughter returns. Ziri stood tall, though her hands clenched into fists. I came to talk, she said, not to beg. The Queen's eyes flicked to Jack. And the human who survived the death bite, she said coldly. I expected someone. More. Jack raised his eyebrow. You expected a corpse. The Queen's lips curled slightly. Not quite a smile. True, she said. But here you are, walking, breathing. And now bonded to my daughter. Ziri stepped forward. I never wanted this power, she said, but I won't let you use it to hurt others. The Queen stood from her throne, her presence filling the room like a storm. You were created to be a weapon, she said. A perfect answer to alien enemies. Until you became unpredictable, Jack stepped forward. She's not a weapon, he said. She's a person. The Queen's eyes flashed. And you, human, are a mistake that needs correction. Jack didn't flinch. Then try, he said simply. V. Queen raised her hand again, and this time, the guards moved. But before they could reach them, Ziri's body shimmered with faint blue light. She stepped forward, hands raised, but not in surrender. I won't run anymore, she said. If you want to kill me, do it. The Queen hesitated. There was something new in Ziri, now strength, control, purpose. She wasn't the trembling girl they locked away. She was more, and they knew it. The Queen lowered her hand slowly. You have a choice, she said. Surrender the human, and I will grant you peace. Stay bonded to him, and you'll be hunted until the end of your days. Jack looked at Ziri, ready for anything, but Ziri didn't even blink. I choose him, she said firmly. Gasps echoed around the throne room. The Queen stared at her for a long moment, then turned back to her throne. Then you are no longer my daughter. She said, leave and never return. Ziri stepped back, her body shaking, but not from fear, from freedom. Jack touched her arm gently. You okay? She nodded slowly. Yes, she whispered. For the first time, I am. They turned and walked out of the throne room together. No one stopped them, not even the Queen. Because everyone in that room had seen it. The bond, the strength, and the unshakable truth that Ziri was no longer a tool. And the human beside her wasn't weak. He was immune, chosen, and unafraid. And now, they were unstoppable. They left the capital under the cover of dusk. No guards chased them, no alarms sounded, but Jack knew better silence didn't mean safety. It meant something worse was coming. Ziri walked beside him, her shoulders straight, her jaw tight. She hadn't looked back once since the Queen cast her out, but Jack could see the weight on her face, the pain of being erased by her own mother. They reached the edge of the jungle by midnight. Above them, stars blinked between clouds. The air was cold, and the fire they built barely kept the chill away. Ziri sat close to the flames, staring into the light like she was searching for answers. Jack placed a small data drive in her hands. This is what I stole from her chamber, he said. Ziri blinked, confused. I saw her hiding it in the throne wall, Jack added. I thought it might matter. She plugged the drive into his wrist scanner, and the screen lit up. Words appeared in her language files. Reports, experiments. Jack tilted the screen so they could read together. The truth hit like a punch. Ziri wasn't born with venom. She was made that way, genetically altered from the womb, designed by royal scientists. The queen didn't fear her daughter. She feared the girl would remember she was a prisoner, not a princess. Tears welled in Ziri's eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "I thought I was broken," she whispered. "But I was designed," Jack sat beside her and placed a hand on her back. "Not broken," he said softly, "just used." Then they found something more, a file labeled Project Cure. It explained how Jack's human cells reacted to Ziri's venom, not with death but with adaptation. His blood had begun to bond with it, change it, stabilize it. The venom inside Ziri was unstable. But Jack's body had become the missing code. "There's a way to reverse it," she whispered. "A cure." Jack nodded slowly. "But there's more," he said, pointing to the last line. "If you take the cure, you lose the venom forever." Ziri stared at the screen, her heart pounded. The venom had always been her curse, her prison. But it had also become her protection, her weapon, her identity. "If I take it," she said, "I become like everyone else." Jack looked at her carefully. "And if you don't?" "Then I stay hunted," she whispered, feared. And alone, he took her hand, warm and trembling. "You'll never be alone again," he said, "no matter what you choose." Ziri looked at him, really looked at him, not as a stranger, not as the human who survived her bite, but as someone who had walked through fire beside her, fought with her, bled with her, and never once let her go. She stood slowly, stepping away from the fire. In her hand was the injector, small, silver, silent. She stared at it, her fingers shaking. Then she whispered, "Jack." He stood, ready to stop her or support her. "I'm tired of being afraid of myself," she said. "I want to be free." Jack gave a single nod. "Then take it." She pressed the injector to her neck and closed. Her eyes, a soft hiss echoed, and the serum entered her bloodstream. Ziri fell to her knees, gasping, her body glowing faintly for a moment. Jack rushed to her side, holding her steady as the light faded, then silence. Her heartbeat slowed. Her breath returned to normal. She looked up at him, blinking in surprise. "It's gone," she whispered. "The burning, the sting. It's gone." Jack smiled gently. "You're still here," he said, "and you're still you." Ziri looked at her hands, then back at him. "I don't feel weak," she said. "I feel whole." The fire crackled between them, and the jungle around them stayed quiet. For the first time, no one was chasing them, no one trying to capture her, no venom threatening their bond, just two souls free. Jack leaned back and looked at the stars. "They'll still come," he said softly. "They'll want my blood now." Ziri nodded. "Let them come," she said. "We're not running anymore." They packed up at dawn, leaving behind the fire and the past. Ziri walked beside him not as a fugitive, not as a weapon, but as a person, and Jack, once just a scout, had become something more than human. They had no home, no army, no crown, but they had each other, and sometimes that was all you needed to start a new world, far away in the capital. The queen sat alone on her throne. She stared at an empty chair beside her, one she had never filled. And for the first time in years, she wondered, had she lost her weapon? Or her daughter? The question would haunt her forever. But for Jack and Ziri, the future was wide open. No longer poison and pain, but choice. And that is the most powerful thing of all.